Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is Sunday afternoon here. I did want to get on, look at a little bit of a different look to our video here. Did want to check the longer range weather models. They are pointing to potentially a somewhat quiet week here this coming work week. And then as we go into the weekend and then certainly into that kind of next week of June, kind of that middle week, certainly looks like we might see a pretty active pattern of some substantial severe weather, possibly even a couple severe weather outbreak days. So, did want to take a look at that. It's important to note that this far out, it's really impossible to have much certainty. So, a lot of things could and likely will change. Certainly, no reason to necessarily guarantee any type of timing on what day or what location. But typically, when you see these patterns that I'll show here in a second, that does mean that at some point it looks favorable that there will be some larger scale severe weather. So I think it's worth kind of noting and paying attention to. So this is our 500 millibar wind map. So kind of that wind up around the jet stream level up in the atmosphere. As we look here and we kind of move forward in time here, let's go to kind of around maybe around this time right here. So this would be Saturday afternoon, so about a week from now. And we see that we do have some pretty substantial flow here in that jet stream level of the atmosphere, kind of off the Pacific coast here of Baja California, kind of moving into Texas and the desert Southwest. And so this is certainly a really strong jet stream, almost something that we would more likely see around, mid to late April, maybe early May. We typically see the jet stream much further north here when we get into this middle of June period. So this is a little bit atypical, but I think this has to do with the El Nino that's setting in. I've talked on previous videos about we've had this subtropical jet that's been really intense here so far this spring, and I think that is really it's correlated with that El Nino and bringing in those warmer than average temperatures from the kind of equatorial Pacific into the southwest of the US. And that's why we've had such a rainy period for the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma, and certainly parts of the South here. So, as we move forward in time a little bit here, we start to see some pretty significant flow here, kind of rounding. We've got this trough here, low pressure kind of out here over Nevada. And then we've got this flow that's going to be moving into the desert Southwest, into Texas and Oklahoma. Again, this would be kind of Sunday night, early Monday morning of a week from now. And then as we move forward in time, we see some pretty significant flow. These light greens, these yellows, this is our upper level flow. And so this is what you need for more significant severe weather outbreaks. And this is going to be in place across New Mexico, Texas panhandles, western Oklahoma, up into Kansas as well. And again, this would be Tuesday morning of next week, June 13th. Then as we move forward in time here, this kind of continues to intensify here Tuesday evening into Wednesday. And then we have yet another source of energy kind of from this same area off of Baja California, this trough that digs down. Then as we move forward further in time, this ejects out over the desert Southwest into Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas again. This would be about midday or Thursday morning here. And then as we move forward in time, still significant flow here across the Southern Plains region as we kind of close out Thursday and go into Friday. So it looks like multiple days of severe weather early next week will likely be possible for sure. And then the interesting thing to note is that once we move forward in time, we see another little trough kind of dig in here, but a little bit further up north, almost where we would expect that severe weather and where we would expect the jet stream in the middle of June. So this would be about 2 weekends from now. This would be Sunday, June 18th, that we're looking at. And then we start to see a little bit of a low pressure system here. And we get this trough that's moving in over Wyoming, Montana, and kind of into those higher terrain elements of the Dakotas, Nebraska, Colorado, those types of areas. This is where we would typically expect our severe weather would be up in these elevated kind of northern plains region into kind of the west, even with Wyoming and Montana being in play. So it does look like probably early next week, we've got kind of an anomalous southern plains, maybe even kind of desert southwest storm system that could provide enough forcing for some significant severe weather. And then maybe towards 2 weekends from now, we start to see those more traditional areas of the higher elevations, certainly the high plains, really start to see that severe weather ramp up kind of around that Father's Day weekend. So I think we're going to have certainly enough energy in the jet stream here. We're going to have a couple troughs digging down again, almost like a late May or late April, early May type of a pattern. And then when we look at the surface, the other thing that we always want to look at is, what's our moisture quality going to be like? And I think what we can see is if you focus on kind of this area, really kind of here across the plains, and we just move forward in time, what you're going to see is we want to be looking for kind of these bluish, dark blue, even purple colors in here. These are going to be our 60 plus degree dew points. And what we can see is as we move forward in time, yes, it moves around. There's different patterns that come through, but there's a lot of moisture that's going to be really present across much of the southern plains, even the northern plains for some of this period. So we're not going to have any issue with moisture. We don't have any crazy fronts that clear out moisture. And really, the Gulf of Mexico, these purple colors, these are mid to upper 70s, almost 80-degree dew points, and nothing's going to remove those. You can see these are basically constant purple all throughout these next couple weeks. So this moisture is it's just kind of ready and waiting. And then as we get these troughs that dig down, that creates a little bit of a low pressure system. Basically, what happens, you get a trough that digs down like this, causes a low pressure system, typically over eastern Colorado. That has this pull of the lower level winds. And so it pulls this moisture generally kind of up out of the south, out of the southeast from the Gulf of Mexico. And that's how you get that fetch of really rich moisture that you need for those severe weather events. So this is going to be the pattern that we're going to see here setting up. Probably not this week. Maybe some marginal pop-ups, a little bit of severe weather here or there, some hailstorms, and just real isolated, probably not any big events this week. And then going into this coming weekend, and especially next week and into Father's Day weekend, does look like it'll be relatively an active period and possibly even some severe weather outbreaks. So definitely something to watch as we move forward. Again, nothing right here in the immediate term right now, and too far out to know specifics on days or locations that will be impacted. But I think something that does bear watching as we move forward in time here over certainly the next week and then going into maybe the 10-14 day period from here. So hope everybody has had a good weekend and has a good rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you back here for the next video.